I was, basing my thoughts, my vote on what I picked up from this wide, diverse group of religious leaders who all were kind of singing from the same sheet of music. I'll never forget that.
Do you think that there was something about that issue that allowed people to either be on the same side or speak the same language, or why didn't that happen elsewhere?
That's a good question. I remember at the time when this bill was coming up, our very conservative Republican Attorney General, King Cuccinelli, said, I'm from the Roman Catholic faith. We believe in the continuity of life and the importance of the continuity of life. From unborn life to a human on facing the capital indictment. So that's one reason why a guy who was a law and order, hard right Republican, King Cuccinelli, opposed the death penalty. Because even though a minority of people in his own party believed as he did, he said, that's my faith. That's the way I discern the will of God. And I think there are many areas that commonality of the faith tradition can lead to kind of a unity in policymaking. Pass this on by trustee mayors.
One of the clearest examples I saw of different churches working together was I was down at Catholic Charities at their warehouse in Sterling, and the Knights of Columbus were presenting a check to the warehouse for food, and I got a tour of the back spaces where all the food was stored, and there was a forklift there, and they said, you're not going to believe who gave us the forklift. It was the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. So you had one faith community providing the tools that were necessary to another faith community to do the job that both believed in. Off and on for a number of years, we've had an interfaith group in Loudoun County, Interfaith Bridges, that have tried to include faith leaders from all different religions in it, and they are fairly active. I've known people from across all faiths who've been part of that. And they will sometimes weigh in, not often, but sometimes on issues that are before the Board of Supervisors. But it's important. It is, to me, reassuring when different faiths are working together, when different faith leaders are working together for the common good of the people of the county, and I deeply appreciate it.
Kristen, a follow-up. Is that kind of cooperation something that you've seen increase, and do you know what's going on there?
I don't. Well, I know that Interfaith Bridges has been working for well over a decade, trying to cooperate. You most recently, after the Hamas attack on Israel, Interfaith Bridges put out a common statement calling for peace amongst all peoples. So they remain active. I think, like every other group, people cycle in and out, and to keep it going could be challenging because you could lose. Your Jewish representative may move out of state, or your Muslim representative may take on other obligations, and your Buddhist representative may have other reasons they can't continue. But it's important for that kind of effort to have a deep well of people to call on, and I know you and Chris have been trying to reach across all faiths with this effort, and previously. I've been getting emails from Chris for years, it seems now. So it's heartening for me to see this kind of effort. Is it increasing? Probably. Probably, in large part to what you and Chris are trying to do. I think it is.
It's good to hear.
And if I
Please,
may,
please.
I will agree that it increases. There's a lot of contention about data centers in Western Loudoun County, right? And actually, I took some exception to the research here that Loudoun County is not religious as the rest of the counties, right? I would submit to you that through our data center and our technology, we are spreading religion to the rest of the world that no one else is, right? So I can put that as a plug for the board of supervisors, right? So that's where we are. I'm not saying, I'm not questioning the accuracy of the report, but I think we have enabled communication, and with Chris and you with these emails and so on, you're now taking it outside of the walls of a physical church, and you're able to communicate value and share with others. So there's just a thought with that.
Sure. Ready?
You know, I agree with Quasi, but I'll say this, as much as I love the instantaneous flow of information that can happen with the internet, let's face it, we also have seen something on our site has happened where, and you see it on Facebook, you see it on Twitter and other forms of electronic communication, where people will say things on electronic media they would never say in person. And maybe it's because their fingers are faster than their brain is working. You say things that are grossly inappropriate, and you see it all the time. And so I do think, as much as I love data centers and learning about different things through the internet, I noticed that internet communications that happen so fast lead to some writers engaging in this shrill conduct that is not productive, that create disharmony, and that I don't think really, if they, you know, if they were to follow Lincoln's rule of a letter not delivered. Lincoln was a very mad president at times, particularly with his generals. He would write these scathing letters, put them in a drawer, not send it out, then say, you know, on second thought, maybe I shouldn't have sent this out to General fill in the blank. One problem with electronic communication is that we see things that are shrill, that are divisive, getting put out into the mainstream, which creates more shrillness and
The
divisiveness.
send button is a lot easier than the walk to the mailbox, right?
So true.
All right. What are some things you've seen in elected leadership that religions or religious people do wrong in the public square?
Who wants to go first, so I mull that over?
I'll take it, thanks. Sometimes it's easy to quote scripture in a way that, out of context, can appear to be an attack on a group of people. And the individual speaking may not fully understand how sensitive the group is to what he may be saying. We had an incident like that at the Board of Supervisors. A good man, I have no doubt, a very caring husband, and the way he chose to deliver scripture was frightening to a group of individuals who feel themselves to be very vulnerable. So that's something sometimes we have to figure out how to talk to someone who has a right to quote scripture, but to ask him to be sensitive and to understand that the group that perceives they are under attack is made up of human beings that he may well come to know and care about if he were to take the time. So that is always a challenging situation for anyone who's either running a meeting or sitting there watching the meeting being run. How do you get a citizen who has genuinely justified concerns about the way society is going, but how do you get him to understand that what he is saying can be frightening and harmful to other people who don't intend harm? It's a real dilemma for us. But it goes back, I think, to the fact that if we would only get to know each other as human beings and stop assuming that titles define us, I think we would have a much easier time working together to a greater purpose.
Thank you, Kristen. And I agree with that. We need empathy. Sometimes we need to walk in the shoes of others to see where they are before you quickly go to an answer. I'm reminded of a small group we had, and it was talking about two brothers in the Bible, and they were in Jesus's closest circle. It was James and his brother John. They were called the sons of thunder. These men, they had passion and they had the truth, right? But the love was questionable. In essence, we know the northern kingdom is Israel and the southern kingdom was Judah, right? But because of that anger between the Samaritans and the Israelites, the Jews, folks would rather walk around instead of walking through Samaria, right? And so in this scripture reading, right, or lesson, Jesus was telling the brothers of thunder, John and James, right, in spite of the Samaritans not wanting to welcome Jesus, right, you don't have the right to say, let's zap them. They wanted to evaporate them. They said, can we call lightning from the skies like Isaiah did to wipe them out because they did not show hospitality? Sometime in our role as in government, we get that from the public, that you need to do this. It's not and or solution, is you need to take this solution right now and this is the way, it's only one way. To what Kristen said, we need to have some empathy and understanding of folks so we can be able to govern in the right way. The first answer is not always the right answer.
I quoted Washington Kennedy, now I'm doing some Jefferson.
Sounds good.
When Jefferson became president, he got a letter from the Danbury Baptists, the Danbury Baptist Association, and that was the letter that gave rise to President Jefferson writing that there should be a wall between church and state. And what the Danbury Baptists were concerned about was that there would be preferences set up whereby taxpayer dollars could be used to support one religion over the other. And the Danbury Baptists had a concern about that because, back when they wrote the letter to President Jefferson, the First Amendment had not yet been made applicable to the states. That didn't happen until the 14th Amendment. So in Connecticut, when they wrote that letter, you couldn't vote unless you were a member of the Congregationalist Church in Connecticut. The Baptists couldn't vote, so they were worried about, okay, could this kind of, the majority hammering the minority religiously spread through our country? And Jefferson said, absolutely not. That'll never happen on my watch. And I think one reason why that